All right, this may not be a very popular opinion, but I'm going to say it. Guillotine submissions are for rookies and people that are washed up. Let's just call it like it is, guys. Last night I was watching the early prelims, and these two no-ranked fighters went to a second round, and they got a guillotine, and the guy tapped out to the guillotine. Man, that's cool and all. I know guillotine sucks. Y'all got to forgive me. I got a little sinus infection going on. I know guillotine sucks. I get that stuff. It's a legit submission. I get that. But let's take a moment and look at the times when some of the most legit guillotines ever did not work. First one is Khabib Nurmagomedov and Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier has been going for the guillotine his whole life, and he got Khabib in a legit guillotine, a real legs around body lock, full guillotine, and Khabib got out of it. Khabib did not tap. This is Khabib in his prime. Khabib did not tap. He got out of it. Another one, Alexander Volkanovski and Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega had Alexander Volkanovski in one of the tightest guillotines I've ever seen, and probably you've ever seen as well. If you've seen tighter, you're smoking crack or you're dreaming. He had him in the tightest guillotine I've ever seen, almost putting him to sleep, and Volkanovski got out of it. He held on long enough to gas out his arms, and Ortega didn't have the same squeeze, and he got out of it. Now, let's throw this in the mix. I do wonder if this has to do with cardio. Like, if your cardio is absolutely top tier, like you have amazing cardio, like, say, Merab, I bet you get Merab Dvalishvili in a fucking perfect guillotine. I bet you he doesn't tap. I bet you he makes it. I feel like it's because his cardio. He's able to hold on long enough and has the fight in him not to tap, but he can hold his breath longer than you can hold your squeeze. That's got to have something to do with it. Because any other a guillotine that people get locked in and someone taps out, if you look at it, it's either like no-name rookies or it's old fighters that are washed up. I say that because Tony Ferguson tapped out to a guillotine to Nate Diaz when they fought each other short replacement. Tony Ferguson tapped out to a guillotine from Nate Diaz. I bet you if you take the Tony Ferguson that fought, if you take Tony Ferguson in his prime, like the Tony Ferguson that fought Kevin Lee, if you take that Tony Ferguson and lock him in that same guillotine, I bet you he doesn't tap out. I bet you he still has the will and the fight to actually get out of it, and I bet you he would get out of it. But he went on a losing streak. He didn't have that same fight in him anymore. He got in a guillotine. He tapped out. Now, understand the guillotine sucks. You put me in it, my ass is tapping out. I get that. But the guys in their prime that are champions, they don't tap to guillotines. They make it out of there. So what do you guys think? Because I think that, I don't know, man. I feel like the guillotine is a submission that works for rookies or old washed-up fighters that are at the end of their career. Someone that is in their prime, we've seen it multiple times. Someone that is in their prime gets locked in a guillotine, they can get out of it. So, there are chokes that no one makes it out of, like rear naked chokes or arm and neck chokes. There are chokes that once they're locked in, no matter how good you are, that's it. But for some reason, the guillotine is just not one of them, and that's just the way it is. So I had that take after watching UFC 320 early prelims and seeing the guy tap out to not even an amazing guillotine. It wasn't even, he didn't even have a body lock. Like, he didn't even have the legs around the body, nothing. It was just, I guess, a straight-up tight guillotine, and the guy was wore out. He was out of breath, so he had no choice but to tap. So I guess in that sense, it goes back to cardio. But, it's just, I hate seeing people tap out to a guillotine because the real champions, the people in their prime, show you that a guillotine is not the end of it. You can actually get out of a guillotine. So that's all I have to say about that. I just wanted to put that take out there because I feel like it's true. If you don't feel like it's true, comment. But so far, the UFC has showed it to be true. So see you guys later. Y'all have a good one. Peace.